Okay, my name is Shalini. I'm from the Learning and Development team in TYA, and I'm really happy that you all are here today. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for making the time to come here. Alright, so today we're actually running through facilitation skills. So it's not just for BDA and grid, like what are the skills you need for BDA and grid, but it's actually, as a club in general, as a facilitator, what are certain skills that you need in terms of managing children, in terms of leading activities. So it's really like an all-rounder. It's not just for BDA and grid. Alright, so let me take you through. So at the end of the day, what do you actually want to learn? Right? So it's basically to describe the role of a facilitator, to actually know what does it mean to be a facilitator. And secondly, to be familiar with a well-structured club flow. Okay, I think some clubs, we tend to do like slightly a bit more different from other clubs. So we really want to establish a proper structure to a club. And lastly, to demonstrate facilitation skills using a concept called experiential learning cycle, which you all will learn today. So this is just the overview of what we're going to cover for today. Right? So you all can take a look. So there's classroom management, an ideal club flow, steps and concept. And then you'll run through a quick lesson demo. So we actually recorded an actual lesson that we did in a club. So I'm actually very excited because I'm the one that did it. So I'll share with you that, and then you can click on some of the skills that you can use spotted through the video. Hi, yes, thank you. You just made it, yes. Alright, and then lastly, there's an assessment brief, okay, which I'll talk a little bit more about. Okay, that one, it's something to do with a survey that you'll be doing with the children. Yeah. Alright, so what is the role of a facilitator? Okay, so basically, facilitate actually means to make it easier. Alright, we are actually trying to make it easier for the children, to help the children and teens. Okay, so rather than just imposing values, hey, you need to be responsible, you need to do this, you need to do that. It's how do you actually make the point across to them without sounding so demanding. It's really to facilitate, right? So it's really a collaborative relationship between you and the child or the team. Alright, so really, what does a facilitator do? So these are certain things that you need to take note of. One is to set the tone. So basically, when you start, you need to set certain expectations that you want children and teens to follow. So that is what a facilitator does. And you have to listen actively. Listen to the children and teens. Actually hear them out. What are their needs? What are certain things that they are lacking in or unable to share with you? And thirdly, to speak effectively. So if I were to speak, can you hear me? Alright, yeah. And you'll probably fall asleep. Alright? It's very late also. Yes, so speak effectively and very clearly. Get your point across. Alright, and anticipate uncomfortable situations. So I understand this takes time, alright, knowing the child well, but also anticipating what might happen or how would the child react. So it does take time, and it also comes well with listening actively. Then it's really getting to know the child and the team. And lastly, learning to be flexible. So I put an asterisk there because yes, this takes a lot. This takes time now. Can you hear me? Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, so this takes time, but you have to learn to adapt, right? So certain times, like especially in the lesson plan, you might have to make certain changes to suit your club. So that's very important. So yes, the role of a facilitator differs. So one, when you're conducting BDA and grid especially, there will be a lead facilitator. Alright, so a lead facilitator is basically the leader, right, who actually carries out the BDA and grid session. So it's clear and the most confident to deliver the lesson objective. So this also comes with preparedness. Correct? You have to be well prepared for the lesson. And you lead the main lesson, so you have a commanding presence. So if someone who's very unsure or not very clear with the lesson plan, then it will be quite difficult for you to actually instruct children to do what you want. Because you yourself are very unsure or not clear of the lesson objective. So you have to have a commanding presence. And then you have to address children's behaviors in general. So for example, if I'm having at least 12 children and one of the children is misbehaving, I cannot, as a leader, right, as a lead facilitator, I cannot lose my focus and just focus on that child, because I will lose my commanding presence to the entire club. So that is something that a lead facilitator don't really need to do, alright? But they address behaviors in general. So if a child is misbehaving, in general I can say, okay, let's bring our focus back as a club. So I'm seeing it in club in general. That is what a lead facilitator does. Now, co-facilitators are basically the rest of the volunteers, right? So what do? It's basically to participate in the activity. So please don't make other volunteers just stand there and watch the children do the activity. You have to join them. Okay, don't be shy to join them. Play in the activity, do the activity together. Alright? So because why? You are actually role models. You're modeling the expected behavior. So as co-facilitators, you also need to know the lesson plan very well. Okay? So you are the extra eyes and ears of the main facilitator. So you look out for children who are misbehaving. You look out for children who are not really focusing or losing their attention. You sit next to them, or you bring their focus back. Okay? Alright, so you play a more active role in managing children's behavior. So like I said, you sit next to them and say, hey, you need to focus, okay, they're doing this activity now. So you make it very clear to them that you need to pay attention to the activity. And for new volunteers, which is most of you here, right? So it's actually really to get your feet wet a little bit. Alright? So that you are ready to take on the role as a lead facilitator in the next few sessions. So at least you know what are the certain roles to expect as a main facilitator. Alright, so I'm going to run through a bit on classroom management, because I think some of the volunteers previously actually feedback they actually have trouble managing children's behavior. So this is a quick model that it's actually been drawn out before. Alright, it's addressing 4 main inappropriate behaviors. So when children lack awareness, so basically when children misbehave, right, they tend not to be aware of their behavior. Alright? So what you do, how you manage that, is you point out that behavior. You bring that behavior, you bring that awareness to them. Make it aware, hey, you're not listening to instructions. Hey, you're not focusing. These are certain things that you point out to the child so that they will be more aware of it. Alright? And then what do? Alright, you provide positive demonstration. So you actually show what you expect them to do. Alright? And you give positive feedback. And then the lack of ability is, some children, they are actually aware of their actions, but they don't know how to do it. Right? So that you set expectations. So like I said, you make it very, very clear to them what is the expected behavior. And you provide some coaching and role play. So maybe if you say, okay, so for example, if I do this, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to follow like that. So something like a role play will help them actually carry out the action. Alright, and then also positive reinforcement. Right? So when the expectation is met. And then some children are very attention seeking, which is quite common, right? So basically, you only provide attention and positive feedback to others. Don't give them the attention that they want. Sometimes it is important, but at the same time, you cannot keep feeding it to them, because they will be very reliant on you later on. So give attention to them only when they are showing appropriate behavior. Okay? Alright, and then develop a plan and present to the child. So don't overreact. Okay? There'll be a lot of power struggles in between you all if you do that. Alright? So sorry, there's a typo in the intentional part. It's actually a non-exclusionary timeout. So make it very clear to them, certain punishments, it might not always be a very negative reinforcement. Yep. So please, when you are giving them a timeout, so sometimes timeout means like you pause. You tell them, okay, you can be part of the activity, but you only can take part in the activity when you listen to instructions. So if you're not going to listen, you just sit there. Alright, so that is a timeout. Maybe they need that time to just cool off or calm down. But don't exclude them from the activity. That's very important. Alright? And give them choices. So you either behave yourself or you either do this. Alright? So there are two choices. So you either give, and you ask them to make the choice themselves. Right. Yes. Sorry, I think there was a repeat here. Yeah. So it's actually to develop a plan and present to a child. Huh? I did that part, sorry. Yes, so what is an ideal club flow? So basically, this is what we actually would like every club to more or less follow. Because ideal club flow, right, you need a pre-briefing session. Okay, so basically, initially, as volunteers, when you come into the club, you all have your own planning, right? You actually discuss, okay, what are we going to do today, and all that. But what we actually hope for, right, is at least a part of it, a part of the pre-briefing actually goes to media and grade also. To make it very clear to all of them that, okay, what are we going to do? What's the lesson objective today? To really discuss it. And if you have any problems with the lesson plan or you're very unsure of something, clarify. You have a whole group of volunteers to clarify it. Alright? And so that everyone's on the same page. Alright? And then after that, you have the welcome. So when the children start coming in and then settling down, don't be afraid to go to them and greet them. How are you? How's your day? Alright? And get to know them. Because I think some of us are quite new, especially, right? We might not know all the children. So get to know them, get their names correctly, because later on throughout the club time, you'll probably be calling out their names. Alright? Alright? And then once you're done with that, before starting with academic coaching, try to do an activity. So some of the clubs actually do journal writing, which is fine, because it really gets them to reflect their thoughts, and also gets the volunteers to understand the children and teams better, which is okay. But also some clubs also like to do an energizer activity. So maybe because I think children, when they come into club, they don't really want to do writing, or they finally know they'll come and be like, oh my gosh, tuition again. No, okay, so instead of that, why don't you do a quick activity, an icebreaker, a simple one, just for 5 minutes. And you can see the whole mood of the club actually changes. And I've seen it before in clubs. The children are actually more jumpy, more happier, and they'll be a bit more positive and more inclined to learn later on. You'll be very surprised. And if you haven't tried it yet, please try it. Okay, it really, really works. Yeah. Alright? So once you're done with academic coaching, okay, give them a quick break. I think some clubs like to go straight away to the BA and break. I think maybe just some break after a long day, a long hour of studying. It's good to just walk around, get some water, relax, and then come down and then be prepared for BA and grade. Yeah, so BA and grade is actually shorter now for those who don't know. Okay, so it's actually quite fast. You actually can be done within 30 to 45 minutes. Less than 45 minutes actually. And then 15 minutes you have announcements, and then you can dismiss the children. Any announcements you want to give to the children teams, and then you dismiss them. And then finally, you come back as a group. You come back as volunteers for the briefing session. This is where you can highlight anything that you've seen with the children, and also in the BA and grade component. Okay, maybe sharing actually what worked. Or you can even share certain qualities or certain things that you saw in facilitators, maybe either the lead facilitator or the co-facilitators. Discuss with them. You say, hey, actually what you did with this child actually worked and he actually listened to you. Okay, so certain things like that, please encourage the volunteers among you all. Okay, and then also discuss on what you all can do better, how you all can tailor the BA and grade session to suit the children. Alright, and then steps to planning. So basically, what it makes a quality pre-briefing, right? Okay, so first thing, during your pre-briefing, make sure, like I said, make sure the objective is very clear. Alright, to everyone. Okay, take this time to understand that the heartbeat of the lesson. What is the main goal of the lesson? Every lesson plan, okay, I'm not just saying it because I created the lesson plans, but every lesson plan is really carefully researched and thought through, and really to identify what are the needs of the children and the teens. So please understand that the lesson plan is not just anyhow we choose from just one website and then we want to give it out. It's really carefully thought through. So please think of the heartbeat. Think of actually what is the objective that you want to bring across to our children today, and discuss it. And be open-minded. That's very, very important. And secondly, clear roles. So please, even if you're not, if it doesn't have to be the leaders doing it, but just discuss among yourselves. Who is going to be the lead facilitator, that means carrying out the media and grade session, and who are going to be the co-facilitators. So co-facilitators are very important because you're supporting the entire club, alright, during the media and grade session. And then anticipate, like I said, anticipate issues with the lesson. So if you know that, for example, if the lesson plan is on emotional skills, for example, and you know that some children, they have trouble regulating their emotions, and you know they might act up, then you should highlight during the pre-review, hey, I think this child might not be very sure of it. Hey, I think this child might act up, or might run out of the room. So you anticipate what might happen, and plan accordingly. Lastly, to adjust the lesson plan if needed. Not saying that you change the entire lesson plan and then forget the objective. Not the truth. So you change it to suit something. Maybe if you want to take away, maybe there's a part where it talks about parents, and you know that maybe some children might be sensitive over that. Then you should just remove that sentence and then say it in another way. Yeah. Maybe not talk much about the parents part, but maybe more on peers or TYA, people in TYA. Yeah. So it's really learning and working together as a team to adjust the plan accordingly. Because you see, even the facilitators, right, they're actually bouncing ideas off each other. You're working as a team. Alright? Now, so I think I'm very tired of talking already. Yeah, so basically we're going to do a quick exercise. So I think you can see it from the slide, right? You can just look at the slide. Alright, so steps to planning. So I just explained to you what makes a good pre-briefing, correct? Alright, so imagine we are having a pre-briefing right now. Okay? So this is actually an activity. This is an activity from a previous lesson plan. Alright? Is the recent one actually on pro-social behaviors. So the theme was on social awareness and the topic was on pro-social behaviors. So the learning objective is children will learn the pro-social behavior of including others who feel left out by choosing to step out of their own comfort zone and approach them. So making them feel included, basically. Right? So what is the aim? So the aim is to get everyone a chance to toss the ball and be seated as quickly as possible without letting the ball touch the ground. Okay, not the ball, yes. So without letting the ball touch the ground. So those are the instructions. And I want you to discuss, so I think maybe this side you can discuss among yourselves, and then maybe this side you can discuss among yourselves. Like how would you prepare it? How would you prepare for something like that? So for example, if I were to give you, let's say this lesson is meant for maybe a group of 5 or 6 or 10 children, but your club only has 2 to 3 children. Oh, sorry. Test. Can you hear me? Okay. Sorry. Yes. So for example, right, so the instructions are given here. So basically it's a hands-on activity, right? You're supposed to toss the ball to everyone until they each toss the ball, and each time you toss the ball, you will sit down. So the goal is to work as a team to get everyone seated down. So if there is like 10, this is meant for maybe 10 children, 5 to 10 children, but your club only has 2 to 3 children. How would you do it? So that's the idea of pre-briefing, right? We need to plan, we need to discuss as a team, hey, actually how? Do we disregard the entire activity just because only 2 to 3 children, I have nothing to do? Do we say that? No, we got to discuss. Okay, so can we try? I'll give you all maybe like about 2 to 3 minutes. Y'all can just discuss among yourselves. Okay? Okay? No right or wrong answers. Y'all can just try to come up with something.